Hey everyone, this is StarGeek, and I'm here to give you my spoiler-free review of Star Wars Episode VIII, The Last Jedi. So later on, I'm going to give you my full thoughts on everything that has to do with The Last Jedi, because there is so much to talk about here. Wow, was this quite the film. I want to keep everything spoiler-free for now, because I know that a lot of you haven't seen it yet, but don't worry for all of you who want to hear my true, full thoughts on the movie. That'll be coming out very shortly. But until then, what did I think of Star Wars Episode VIII? So, just to set the scene here, because my viewing experience for this movie was a little bit different than the experience that everyone else probably had. So, for this movie, I actually saw a double feature. So, at 2-ish, I skipped school, and I went to a 3:30 showing of The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi at the Cinerama in Seattle with my dad, and a few other Star Wars people in the local collecting group. So it was a really, really unique experience going straight from The Force Awakens right into The Last Jedi that gave me a kind of different perspective on the movie, I think, than I would have had if I had just gone into it blind. But it wasn't just a double feature that I went to last night, because after finishing The Last Jedi, I got right back outside and waited another hour to see The Last Jedi again at 10:30. So I saw The Last Jedi twice last night, so I think that I have a bit of a different perspective on things, not only seeing it juxtaposed with The Force Awakens, but also back-to-back again. So I've seen it twice already, and I still can't process everything in that movie. It was insane. And let me just give you my initial straight-off reaction. This was a great movie. It completely reset the expectations that I have for any of the future Star Wars movies and gave us so much new stuff to talk about and to think about and expanded so much on the universe. I have all my different plot points that I want to go down here without spoiling anything for you guys. But wow, this movie was completely new, very different than anything we've seen before. And actually, to add on to the double feature that I saw, since it was the premiere showing of The Last Jedi paired with The Force Awakens, we actually got a special message from Rian Johnson, which was very cool, which was exclusive to that showing. So I got a message from the director of the movie that talked about everything, and accompanied with that was a John Williams little video featurette about writing the score for The Last Jedi. So both of those things were very cool. I don't think they impacted my view of the movie, but they did get me very hyped up and excited to see The Last Jedi in theaters. Very, very fun, really cool experience. So, overall, this is definitely one of the best Star Wars movies by far. I want to be cautious here because in the past I've said some very, very high things about some of the Star Wars movies that have come out in the past few years, and then over time they have kind of dwindled a little bit off. So with The Force Awakens, I thought it was, maybe this is the best Star Wars movie ever, and then over time it's kind of like, it's probably closer to maybe the 6th best at this point, with The Last Jedi and Rogue One now too. And Rogue One, I thought, maybe this is the 2nd best, but really it's probably the 4th best at this point, because I think Star Wars Episode VIII, The Last Jedi, is the 3rd best Star Wars movie, and this is very, very temporary, very right now, after 2 viewings of the movie on the same night, so I don't know if my opinion will change or anything like that, but as of right now, what you see on the screen is my ranking of the Star Wars films. And wow, The Last Jedi was such a special movie. I cannot wait to give my spoiler review because there's so many specific things I want to talk about. But until then, I want to go over and see the main points, the overall experiences and things that I saw in the movie that I thought were important to talk about, so that you guys get a general idea of my experience and what you might experience when you see the movie, or if you already have seen the movie, you'll try to figure out what I'm talking about here in this message. So yeah, let me just go over the different points I have here. So I want to talk about the old characters, the characters from the original movies, the original trilogy characters that they brought back into this movie. They did an amazing job expanding upon these characters and giving them more life. Unlike anything we've seen before, we reconnected with a lot of these characters in The Force Awakens, but not at all on the same level that we did in this movie. In this movie, I felt like we had a much deeper emotional connection with all of the original trilogy characters, and it was great to see. It was really cool that we were reconnecting with all these old characters, but at the same time, we could also tell that Disney's trying to kind of separate itself from these characters. characters. They're trying to introduce newer characters. They're sequel characters and the characters in this movie that they really wanted people to get more involved with those characters. So we see a lot of the sequel characters that we met in The Force Awakens, which also get their stories expanded on a ton. We got, a 2 hour and 14-minute experience with characters like Rey and Finn and Poe and Kylo, and others in The Force Awakens, and all of those characters get their backgrounds and their stories expanded on in this movie in a really, really great way. I cannot stress enough how well the characters were handled in this movie. But moving on from the original trilogy characters and the Force Awakens characters, this movie also brought in some characters of its own, which were not exactly what I was expecting them to be, any of them really. But they were mixed. They were kind of a mixed bag of if you were going to get a really great character, or if it was going to be kind of disappointing. And I will say, actually, I was surprised which of the new characters I enjoyed and which ones I had a few mixed feelings about, just based on my reactions before seeing the movie, my initial thoughts going into it, and then coming out, where they were way different. So this movie throws a lot of surprises at you. Let's talk about the creatures really, really briefly. So I'm sure that you guys are aware that there are some certain creatures in this film that you may be worried about, that are a little bit fluffy or, maybe feathery. They're kind of short and they live on an island. You might pick up what I'm trying to hint at here, but these creatures are so creatively designed and perfectly dispersed throughout the movie without getting annoying at all. All of the characters in this movie are so unique, yet so Star Wars-y at the same time. It's hard to explain how well they captured the essence of the universe here. It was really, really great to see how much love and effort was put into making sure that these creatures didn't take away from the movie, and they also added on to the universe, and it gave us such a wider view of the Star Wars galaxy as a whole. And in my spoiler review, there is one creature, not the one that you're going to be thinking of, but there is one creature in this movie that I truly, truly hated, but I will, it's really not a big thing at all, and I will discuss that in my spoiler review. You'll have to see that there. So, the pacing. Let's talk about the pacing and editing of this movie. This movie was edited superbly. I thought that The Force Awakens was paced very well, and the editing was really, really tight and very, very fun and flashy and exciting and Star Wars-y, and it had all the emotional edit points. But the Last Jedi takes it up a whole new level. The pacing throughout this movie never really slows down. Maybe a little bit in the middle, we get a little bit more delving into, some character backgrounds and some relationships between people, but it barely slows down for any moment. There's always action going on, always excitement, and it makes it for a really, really exciting and fun viewing experience that we haven't really seen on the same level in a Star Wars movie before. I've never been quite so encapsulated the whole experience, the entire film. I was so drawn into what was going to happen next, and it was really, really fun to see. But yeah, the pacing is good. For being the longest Star Wars movie at 2 hours and 34 minutes, I think it is, this movie does not feel slow at all. Those 2.5 hours go right on by, but you don't feel like you're missing anything. It's a very satisfying, very fun viewing experience. So let's talk about the locations and the planets. It expands so much on the universe here, from the smaller little segments of the galaxy that we see, and the wider range of exotic locations. There are planets of luxury and there are planets of desolation, and it's just such a juxtaposition of seeing a planet of such beauty and life, and then seeing a planet which is completely desolate. You'll understand when you see the movie, but it really works so well, and expands so much on the universe and the locations that we see in the Star Wars universe. So I'm really excited about where they're taking the planets that we see in this movie. And something that Star Wars is really well known for is its humor. And I know a lot of people take Star Wars very seriously, and it can be a serious thing to talk about, a serious type of film, but overall, Star Wars has always had a really, really rooted itself in a sense of fun and just entertainment. And it's just supposed to be a fun movie that you can put on and enjoy and not have to worry about anything. And that's one of the great things about this movie is that it took humor and used it in the best way it could. There were moments where they interspersed humor in moments of action and excitement and drama all at the same time, and they didn't clash at all. They worked and flowed together so well. The humor was placed all throughout this movie so that you didn't feel like there was ever too much humor in one part or not enough in another. We really got a great, well-balanced film full of drama and excitement and humor. I cannot stress enough how fun this movie is. It is the funniest Star Wars movie with the best humor out of all of the ones that we've seen so far. And I said the same thing about Rogue One, too, but Last Jedi just amps it up one more step. And the plot twists in this movie, I'm not going to talk about it all, but boy, does this movie throw you for a loop sometimes. We never know what's coming. It is such an exciting movie where you are surprised constantly. And that's all I'm really going to say about that because I don't want to start speculation on anything, but wow, every single moment you can feel the tension and the surprise at every single turn. It's a great film. Cannot stress enough how on the edge of your seat you are. And one of the things that really is benefited from this high tension are the emotional impacts that this movie has. It touches on nostalgia in such a brilliant way where we don't feel like it's service or fan service, it's not pandering to the audience at all, but you still feel that emotional connection to these characters. You feel just so much, there's so many emotions going on, and I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm trying to keep it a little bit ambiguous here, but wow, like the moments that we get in this film truly can bring a tear to your eye. It is just so emotionally stunning and impactful, and there were moments where the entire audience in the movie theater cheered, and moments where you could tell that everyone was very somber, and every note hit. And I haven't seen a movie that has hit so many perfect emotional notes like The Last Jedi. Every single emotional note was hit here. Again, from the humor, to the drama, to the action, and to the sadness, and all this heartbreak that we felt in this movie too, was really, really fantastic. And I've seen a lot of complaints from diehard fans about this movie, surprisingly. Critically, it's getting great reviews, like it should be, really. But from the diehard Star Wars fans, the uber fans, the mega fans, the ultra passionate fans, they are all having a little bit of a hard time with how this movie was dealt, and I'm honestly surprised. But I'll talk a lot more about that in my spoiler review. But I figured it's such a piece of drama in the Star Wars community right now, where all these uber fans are posting all these reviews, and I believe at the moment the audience review for this movie is like at 54%. That is insanely low. A 54% rating for the new Star Wars movie from its biggest fans is crazy. And I really think that if you go and see this movie, you'll see that those reviews don't ring true to the true spirit of this movie. I understand why people might get caught up at some things, because this is a really groundbreaking new Star Wars movie, unlike we've ever seen before. It's nothing like the old movies, really, but it still is rooted in that Star Wars passion, and you can feel that it's coming from a place of love, and I can't stress enough how great this movie is, and I just really want to talk about the spoilers and the nitpick little intricacies of this film. So I'm gonna try to end this off here with my number review. I'm trying to think about how I can put this into an actual number, so you can get a little bit of a better idea of how I'm seeing this movie here, ranking wise. So really, my initial rating after only seeing it 2 times one night. My initial rating of Star Wars Episode VIII, The Last Jedi, is 94 out of 100. So I'd say 94%, fantastic movie, cannot stress enough, go check it out. Please see Star Wars Episode VIII, The Last Jedi. I loved it, and I really want to discuss it with you and talk about it in my spoiler review. So I'm going to get going on to that, and I hope to see you there. Until we meet again in a galaxy far, far away, this has been StarGeek.